Have you ever started daydreaming about just a really incredible ask that you have, and then you go into overwhelm or guilt or even shame for having that ask? Welcome to Tools to Manifest Your Dream Life with myself, Glennie Hughes. Thank you so much for being here. I am so incredibly grateful for each and every one of you. This is an invitation to my monthly membership called Magic School for Manifestors. It is an incredible place where we do a training each month. We have 2 facilitation/coaching calls each month. You receive an energetic exercise, an additional tool to regulate your nervous system. Link is above or below. If you don't see a link, reach out and I will get it for you. So that thing when you are asking for more, daydreaming about more, and it feels really good maybe for a little while, and then you go into that heaviness, that guilt or shame or whatever it might be, that is only because your system learned somewhere along the line that it's not safe to have more. It could have been as simple as you were a child and you asked for more ice cream and somebody told you that it's selfish to ask for more when you've already had some. Something as simple as that can put your nervous system into dysregulation, and then that's your set point basically every time you go to ask for more, and it doesn't have to be just ice cream that you're asking for. And the thing is that our nervous system doesn't care about anything except safety. If your nervous system is safe, everything is fine. If it feels unsafe in any way, it's going to dysregulate. And then that's where that self-sabotage, that doubt, that shame, all of those heavy energies come up and basically stop you. And as you can see, if you're watching this on video, walking behind me every once in a while, we're still here in Portugal. This is our last few days, and we are hanging out with Jimmy Joe and Peggy Sue. They are so sweet, and there are the most beautiful beaches in Portugal that I have ever seen. It is unfortunate that we're here in December and January. However, I guess we just have to come back. Yesterday in our first coaching call for January, one of the participants asked about asking for more. And what she said is that every time I think about what I would like and all the things that I would like in my life and all the energies I would like in my life, I just get really overwhelmed. And then she ended that question with how embarrassed she was for asking it, for even having that question. And that is such a great representation of how this can occur. We are in that energy of desiring more and thinking about what we would like. And if our life was incredibly magical, what would we be doing and what would we be creating and how would we be spending our days? And that can feel really, really good. And then if somewhere along the way, we've got that set point that says more is bad, then we're going to go into that shame and into that embarrassment and into guilt, whatever it is, instead of recognizing it's a fairly simple shift. Now, when I say simple, it may not be quick, okay? With our nervous system, the way we change these sorts of things is through repetition. So we won't do one technique and then it'll be gone forever. Probably. It's likely a good 3 weeks to 4 weeks even of repetition of settling the nervous system, regulating the nervous system when you're thinking about having more and receiving more. One of the healing techniques that I teach people to utilize is what I call a sand swim, which I know sounds really bizarre. It's an energetic thing, so you're not physically doing this, but it's where you would imagine or sense or perceive you actually swimming through sand. I know, it sounds really weird, but it came up for me in visualization a couple of years ago, and that's what I was guided to do as I was really trying to clear off some heavy energy from myself. And what I found as I was imagining swimming through the sand is that all of that sand was such an incredible exfoliator, basically. And the farther down in the sand that I swam, the clearer and the easier it was to clear it off. So if this is something that you struggle with, if you notice that you stop yourself when you're asking or you're daydreaming and go into the heaviness, what I would encourage you to do is just take a few minutes. It doesn't have to be a long drawn out process, unless of course you would like it to be. I know myself, I really love energetically swimming in the sand. Again, I know it sounds funny, but try it. Let me know how it works for you, because I'd love to hear. Bring up all of those desires of wanting more, and just let that heaviness come up on its own. You don't need to go searching for it. Just start daydreaming about all the magic you would like in your life and all the possibilities. Allow that heaviness to show up. When it does, then go energetically swim through the sand. And I would say go down quite far so that you can really get the benefits of it. And I don't know, it just creates so much space, because what it does is it energetically clears off all of the heaviness that we've been carrying in relation to that thing that we're doing it on. Now, I would call that step one, because first thing is you do want to clear all the heaviness off. And then the next thing that I would do is I would get into the energy again of all the desires and all of the asks. And if more heaviness comes up, go swimming again. Just basically keep swimming until there's no heaviness left. And then what I like to do is I just basically put a hand on my heart and a hand on my tummy, and I close my eyes and I do what I call a rewiring breath, which means you breathe in through your nose, you hold it, and then you breathe out through your mouth. The important part is you breathe out longer than you breathe in. And that's basically a signal to your nervous system to regulate. So I put my hand on my heart, my hand on my belly, I close my eyes, I get present, and I breathe in to the count of 4, I hold it for 2, and I breathe out to the count of 6. So let's just do this together. Now, you would keep doing that until you can basically perceive the peace, you can settle. And then I continue to do it while I repeat, it is safe to have more. It is safe to receive more. It is safe to ask for more. Now, those words, those phrases may not be a match for what you require. So just tap into that. Use whatever it is. But basically, you just want to let your system know it's safe. In whatever it is you're working on, it's safe. So those 2 steps, a couple times a day for 3 to 4 weeks, and watch the magic. And the other thing, I'm going to call it step 3, is put a note in your phone or have sticky notes by your bedside or something so that you can start paying attention and tracking how much more you're receiving. Because this is something that I would say most of us can say we don't receive as much as we would like to, but then are we really tracking how much we're receiving? Are we really paying attention to it? Or is it like most things where we can track really easily the wrongness of us and we don't pay attention to the greatness of us? So start tracking what you are receiving. Now, how can receiving show up? A compliment. A friend wants to buy you lunch. Animal wants to come up and give you some cuddles, or a person does. Like, receiving is so many things. It can be money. It can be physical hugs and touches and those sorts of things. It can be compliments. It can be standing in the sunshine and just receiving from the sunshine, which I was doing earlier today because it's been really rainy the past few days. So it's been nice here today that it's pure sunshine. If you're like me and you love the ocean and the beaches, then when you go to those places, like, really check in. How much are you receiving while you're being there? And how much more could you be receiving in those moments? But really starting to pay attention to where you are receiving. Now, receiving can also be a little bit tricky in the sense that we can be gifted a compliment, but it's not really a compliment. Like, there's some daggers attached. And so then we maybe don't receive it. And then we judge ourselves because we didn't receive it, but we didn't acknowledge it's not a real compliment. It was another question on yesterday's call where one of the participants said she wasn't receiving as much as she would like to because she'd went and was talking to this woman and she was giving her all of these compliments and she could barely say thank you. And she said, I just wasn't receiving. But then as she was telling us more about what this lady was saying, I was like, So truth, are those compliments? And it was very, very clear they were not. This woman had other agendas in place with this. And so watch that too. If you feel like you didn't receive, check in. Don't go straight to I didn't receive. Just check in. What am I aware of here? What am I aware of here? What am I aware of here? I would say that probably the theme of yesterday's facilitation call was awareness and getting into asking that question of what am I aware of here? Because what happens is if we don't acknowledge our awareness, like that gal who just said, oh, I wasn't receiving, I'm wrong. But her awareness was they weren't truly compliments. So once she acknowledged they weren't truly compliments and there wasn't anything to actually receive, she didn't need to judge herself anymore. There was no judgeable offense. So when we are willing to have the awareness, acknowledge the awareness, there's no need to judge us because we're often operating off of the awareness without realizing we're operating off of the awareness. So this woman was operating off the awareness that they weren't really compliments. But in her head, the judgment was she's not receiving. But the truth of it was there was nothing to receive in that sense, except the awareness that they weren't compliments. The other thing with asking that question, what am I aware of here? You don't even have to know the response to that. You can just ask the question and it's going to create space in of itself. Even if you don't cognitively know what you're aware of, by asking that question energetically, you're going to acknowledge what you're aware of and it will create the space that you're looking for in that moment. So it will get you out of self-judgment. It's a very, very magical question. So once again, an invitation to Magic School for Manifestors, where we utilize my Neuro Miracles method, which we covered all in January, and would love to see you in there. Have a great rest of your week. I look forward to chatting to you from Canada, chilly Canada, soon.